In the ruthless landscape of corporate America, where success is often measured in financial figures and silence can be bought, an astonishing revelation emerges that challenges everything we assume about power. Imagine an overlooked janitor, invisible to those around him, dismissed as insignificant, becoming the pivotal force in a high-stakes meeting that could determine the fate of a multi-million-dollar company. This is the story of Daniel Carter, a man who proved that true influence does not stem from a prestigious title or a tailored suit, but from something far more elusive: unwavering integrity and the courage to speak the truth when no one else dares. For 15 years, Daniel Carter had been more of a whisper than a presence within the towering steel and glass of Harrow Beckett Enterprises. As the company's janitor, he had become a fixture in the background, existing only in the periphery of hurried conversations and strategic negotiations. His role was defined by silence, his presence acknowledged only when trash bins needed emptying or floors required polishing. At 38, he had mastered the art of being unseen. His modest one-bedroom apartment bore testament to a life lived in the shadows. A single-framed photograph of his late mother, an aged leather chair salvaged from a thrift shop, and a meticulously arranged closet of cleaning supplies. Each morning followed an unvaried routine: a cup of black coffee, a neatly pressed blue work shirt, and his worn-out sneakers that had traveled countless corporate hallways. Harrow Beckett was more than just an office building. It was a hive of ambition, whispered deals, and unspoken hierarchies. While executives strode past in their custom suits, exchanging guarded words about mergers and acquisitions, Daniel moved like a ghost, pushing his cart, his mop and bucket the only accessories to this grand performance of power. To the employees, he was invisible. But Daniel saw everything. He overheard snippets of conversations carelessly dropped near supply closets, observed the tense posture of department heads, and noted the shifting dynamics of power that went unnoticed by those too caught up in their own ambitions. His perceived insignificance was, in reality, his greatest advantage, a lens through which he saw the raw, unfiltered nature of corporate life. Little did anyone realize that beneath his unassuming exterior lay an intelligence sharp enough to dismantle a deception that threatened the company's very foundation. And soon, that moment would arrive. The unexpected request came on an otherwise ordinary evening. As Daniel was finishing his rounds in the executive wing, Meredith Langford, the formidable CEO of Harrow Beckett, called his name. Daniel Carter. His mop froze mid-swipe. No one addressed him by name. He turned slowly, meeting the gaze of a woman known for her sharp wit and even sharper business acumen. "I need you to attend an important meeting with me," she said, her voice unwavering. The words seemed misplaced, like a foreign language spoken in a familiar setting. Daniel's fingers instinctively twisted the edge of his sleeve, a nervous habit developed over years of silent existence. "Ma'am," he stammered, "there must be some mistake. I'm just a janitor. I don't belong in a meeting like that." Meredith Langford, however, was not a woman accustomed to hearing objections. Her reputation preceded her, a leader who had transformed a struggling company into an industry giant through sheer intelligence and strategic brilliance. "That's precisely why I want you there," she countered, a flicker of something resembling amusement in her otherwise unreadable expression. "You see what others miss. You listen when everyone else is too busy talking." Doubt thundered in Daniel's mind. His hands, rough from years of work, suddenly felt too large, too clumsy for the refined world of corporate strategy. The thought of stepping into a boardroom filled with powerful executives, his presence an anomaly, sent a surge of anxiety through him. But Meredith Langford had made up her mind, and that meant there was no room for debate. The morning of the meeting, Daniel dressed as if preparing for battle. His best shirt, a pale blue button-down that had seen better days, was pressed to perfection. Each movement was deliberate, each breath measured. The mirror reflected a man transformed yet fundamentally unchanged. Still Daniel Carter. Still uncertain. Still hoping he wouldn't shatter the fragile illusion of confidence he was attempting to project. As he stepped into the executive conference room, he felt like an imposter. The space exuded power, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a polished mahogany table that gleamed under recessed lighting. Seated at that table was Victor Alden, a man whose very presence commanded attention. Clad in an impeccably tailored charcoal gray suit that likely cost more than Daniel's yearly salary, he projected an air of controlled dominance. Alden's voice, smooth and assured, filled the room with financial jargon, revenue projections, stock fluctuations, potential mergers. To most, it would sound impressive, but to Daniel, something felt off. For years, he had cleaned these very rooms after high-stakes meetings, collecting forgotten notes, overhearing conversations when executives thought themselves alone. He had seen patterns, understood dynamics in ways that eluded even the sharpest minds in the room. That's when he noticed it. A document, partially concealed beneath Alden's leather briefcase. The placement was too deliberate to be accidental. His trained eye recognized it instantly for what it was, a piece of information meant to remain hidden. His heart pounded. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Every unnoticed moment of his life had led to this precise second. The internal debate raged within him. Speak up and risk everything. His job, his anonymity, his carefully constructed existence. Or stay silent and betray the trust Meredith Langford had placed in him. "Excuse me." The words emerged steady and clear, surprising even himself. "There's something under the briefcase." The room went still. Alden's carefully maintained expression faltered, just for a fraction of a second, but enough. Enough for Daniel to know he had struck a nerve. Meredith's sharp gaze locked onto the concealed document. Her voice, when she spoke, was steel. "Move the briefcase." It wasn't a request. It was a command. Alden hesitated, but under the scrutiny of those around him, he had no choice. With measured reluctance, he shifted the briefcase, revealing the incriminating paper beneath. A detailed blueprint of corporate fraud. A meticulously orchestrated scheme to manipulate financial reports, inflate stock prices, and siphon millions from unsuspecting shareholders. Silence stretched taut across the room. Meredith's expression darkened. "Victor," she said, her voice like ice, "you've just made the gravest mistake of your career." In the weeks that followed, Daniel Carter's life changed in ways he could never have imagined. Instead of being fired, he was offered a special advisory role within the company. His unique ability to observe without being observed became Harrow Beckett's most valuable asset. Victor Alden faced swift legal repercussions. His once glowing reputation crumbled. The SEC launched a full-scale investigation, using Daniel's observations as key evidence. During a press conference, Meredith Langford did something unheard of. She introduced Daniel not as a janitor, but as the man whose integrity and keen perception had saved the company. "Sometimes," she told the stunned reporters, "the most important person in the room is the one everyone else overlooks." For Daniel Carter, the man who had once been invisible, life would never be the same. And he had proven, beyond doubt, that true power is not found in titles or appearances, but in the courage to speak the truth when it matters most.